Hey everybody, Derek here. I'm here to bring you another video for our Walking Dead countdown to the season 5 premiere. Today we are exactly 3 days away from our upcoming 5th season premiere. I'm getting really excited, folks. We are really close. There's a lot of things that we have to look forward to this season on Walking Dead, and I'm really excited to see what they have in store for us. Definitely a lot of things that are coming out more as the days go by. And something caught my eye a little bit that made me want to do a video, basically doing a little comparison between the governor and Gareth and a little contrasting. Now, I know that we've only known Gareth for one episode and it was only for a few minutes, but one of the things that Robert Kirkman did was commented a little bit on Gareth, and I think that it's important to potentially look over the various differences between the governor and Gareth and how that's going to impact the 5th season. As we go along a little more in the season, we'll be able to tell potentially who the better villain is, and I guess that's a matter of opinion, but I just wanted to give my thoughts on Gareth based on this interview and basically do a little review of the governor. So, just in case you guys aren't caught up yet on the show or you want to go in fresh, this video may contain spoilers. So, if you don't want to be spoiled, please don't watch the video because I don't want to spoil anybody's 5th season. Okay. So, in the interview, Robert Kirkman stated this about Gareth. He said, Gareth has a calm element to him that the governor lacked. He says that Gareth is very intelligent and is very pragmatic. And you can kind of see a little bit of that in the finale and based on the trailer a little bit. And I think that those are things that Gareth is going to be able to use to his advantage over Rick's group necessarily, because at this point he has home field advantage. I mean, they're inside Terminus. He knows how it works. He knows what's going on there. He has a systematic group of people, and basically they have a way of doing things that works. And either it hasn't been changed up, or maybe it's not so much as Gareth is the ultimate leader, but that he's willing to work with his people, which I think if that's the case, then it's going to pay off for him a lot more than the governor. The governor was a very good villain, and I mean, David Morrissey played a very excellent role. And I think that what we're trying to do here is just determine who would be more successful in the Walking Dead world, and at this point it looks like Gareth because he's maintained his community. And one of the things that we noted about the governor is that the governor just didn't have that calm effect like Gareth does. I mean, Gareth was very, relaxed throughout the whole entire finale. I mean, when they had to shoot the guy Alex when Rick took him hostage, I think that was just part of their code. They live a little differently than the people at the Woodbury did. But it wasn't like anybody was upset about that. It was just something that they had to do. And, Gareth just doesn't blow his top. I mean, even whenever he was standing up on the roof yelling at Rick, it wasn't like he was like, get in there! He was like, get in there, he had control of the situation because he knew how Rick was going to react. I mean, I think that he just has this intelligence of knowing if I threaten to hurt his son, he's going to do what I tell him to do. So, I mean, Gareth seems to have a lot more, he's more collected. And you see that even when Rick and the group are lined up, tied up in the trailer. You see that when he's, talking with the group potentially. I mean, when you hear him talking in the trailer, he seems like he is in control of things, like even in himself. That he's not, losing his temper. He's not straying from who he is and who he wants to be and his ideals. At least that's what it seems to me on first impressions. Whereas the governor, you had a big difference here with, I mean, the guy, I think at first he did have good intentions. I mean, even though he was going around, and doing the worst of things, I think that he still had the Woodbury community in mind when he killed those soldiers and when he, did whatever he did. That he was still providing for the people. So I mean, but it's a little bit of a dual purpose nonetheless, because I think he also did that because he didn't want to fall out of power. And then you see after he loses Penny, his daughter as a walker, that's where like the ultimate last, cut of any potential chance that the governor was going to be a good leader, in my opinion. I think that, in his weird ways, he had a connection to Penny. And I think that a lot of us, part of the reason why I think Rick is so grounded in, where he's at is partly because of Carl. Now, I'm not going to say that Rick would necessarily become the ultimate baddie without Carl, but I think that Carl definitely has a link on him that helps keep him straight as a leader, that he's not going to, take ultimate risks, that he's not going to, kill innocent people just to keep everybody safe. How he's become a little more grounded in his ways, and why Rick's a better leader because of the love for his son. And I think that that projects on the love of his people, that they've worked together so far, that they become that family unit that Rick can count on and rely on. And what you have with the governor is just no connections. And I think that that was another disadvantage with the governor, was the governor didn't give a rat's about anybody other than himself. And it's the truth in the end. I mean, he was out for himself, and he was going to do whatever he had to do to keep himself in a leadership role, to have control over everything, and it paid off poorly in the end. The governor had nobody left at the end, and that was something that they noted in the season 4 DVD extras was about the governor. Was the governor had burned every bridge that he had ever built in The Walking Dead. I mean, he massacred his Woodbury army. These were the people in his town. And again, this is the governor exercising his lack of ability to control himself. That in reality, it probably would have been a lot better for them to go back and, regroup and figure out what the heck they're going to do. But no, the governor just has no control, and he's going to, he just sprays his bullets all over the place. And, what I think we're going to see with Gareth is that he's not just going to, turn around and shoot his Terminus people because they're not, doing what he wants them to do. I mean, the fact that Alex got killed, I think that it was just based on their belief of what they're supposed to do. And it's, hey, you get caught, we're not going to save you. That might just be a code that they live by. That they're not going to let people come in and hold people hostage and potentially threaten what they have here. So your goal is don't get caught. And I think that's just the way that the Terminus people live. Whereas the governor, is trying to maintain somewhat more of a society that we knew of before The Walking Dead. Like, that's what you saw in Woodbury, at least from the people that were living there. Other than the fights, I mean, they were really living there for the most part. Like, it was just, hey, there's no Walking Dead world. It's just, let's have a barbecue and let's do this. He was trying to maintain like a before the Walking Dead world happened, as best as you can. Whereas you have Gareth, who is, hey, the world's changed and we're going to adapt to it, and this is how. So I think that that's another difference between them that changes the rules a little bit about how they interact with their group members. But again, the governor just burned all those bridges, and he was too manipulative to the point where, nobody could trust him. I mean, after he killed Martinez, he killed Pete. I mean, and then he killed Herschel. And I think that, again, people saw who he was, and he just had no control at all. I mean, even Gareth, I mean, I don't think he was going to really ever shoot Carl, to be honest with you. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I think that, again, he wasn't being totally like, hey, I'm going to shoot your kid. I think that, again, he's intelligent enough to know that the kid belongs to somebody. And Rick identified him as his son. And I think that, again, his son is definitely going to be leverage on somebody. And Gareth is just intelligent enough to realize, hey, if I stand up on this roof and tell him that I'm going to kill his son unless he does what he tells me, then that's just being intelligent. That's not necessarily being reckless. And I don't think that I think he knew himself he wasn't going to have to kill the kid. He just had to say it. And I think that that's again Gareth and Kirkman says this is that Gareth is more intelligent than the governor. I think that's the truth, honestly. I think that Gareth being able to be more of a calm, collected person is able to observe more. He's able to see just how to take a situation and use it to his advantage. Whereas I think the governor, again, just acted on impulse. I think that he was just too reckless. He didn't think things through. And I think that's the truth. I mean, if the governor was more collected, he never would have massacred the people at Woodbury. Never. If Gareth was standing there in that same spot and Gareth being Gareth, I don't think that he would have done that. And we see that. I mean, the governor just acted on impulse without really thinking about the consequences afterwards. I mean, even then, it's like, hey, go run the tank through the wall. Why the heck would you do that? You're trying to take the prison. And he's like, I don't care. And that's the point, is the governor, again, just didn't think things through. He's not as collected. He's not as intelligent as Gareth is at this point. Again, this is just first impressions, but I think we're going to see a difference between the governor and Gareth, and that's why I think we're going to see that Gareth is a little more of a threat than the governor per se, because Gareth has more of these connections with people. The Terminus people work a little more as a unit, and that can be threatening, and that can definitely be more scary than the governor. But, the governor in himself is still a great villain. And I think that it really just depends on what you're looking for more in a villain. Because you can have a villain that just is trying to come up with this great plan. And the only reason why he's a villain is just because his interests conflict with Rick. I mean, that's just the way things are. I mean, that Rick is the hero and anybody that tries to get in his way is a villain. And I'm interested to see just what Gareth's purpose is, because I think that once we see the storyline, then we'll be able to really determine who exactly Gareth is and what his goal is and how he interacts more. Because again, we've seen a little bit of how he does it, but I think that more examples of it will prove why overall he's a better leader than the governor. And I think that's the case because Terminus is obviously still standing, and they have a system that works. And again, with Gareth being the intelligent leader that he is, I think that it definitely lends to him being the better leader rather than the instinctual impulse governor that just did things without thinking them through, and in the end ended up getting himself killed because he had nobody left. He burned all the bridges. When Michonne came up behind the governor and stabbed him, that was just basically the final stab in the back, to the governor and his ideals. I mean, it's like, hey, buddy, you realize that everything that you did came to this. If you would have been a better leader, if you would have cared a little more and you would have listened to people, then you wouldn't have this sword in your back right now. You'd be back at your, camper with your wife, girlfriend, Lily, and your stepdaughter, Megan. You would have had a great life, potentially, and you could have lived, and you could have grown relationships from that. And that's the thing about Rick. Rick had those relationships. He had Michonne as a friend and a companion that was willing to come to his rescue. Governor had nobody, and it showed in the end. So I really am interested to see how Gareth is a better villain than the governor potentially. But again, it's really just we're gonna have to look at things. We're gonna have to really weigh, and again, it's what you like in a villain, because sometimes you like the villain that's gonna do something that's so drastic it's not even funny. There's been plenty of villains over the years that just do some of the most atrocious things that even some other villains wouldn't do. You see some villains that would kill kids or do, set people on fire, torture people. Those are the more shocking kind of villains. You're like, I cannot believe that this is going on right now. And then you have the more intelligent villains that, they're just going to do what they have to do in order to get their um, goals, put into place, but that it's just their intelligence that makes them threatening, or it's their, yeah, I'm gonna stab you in the back and I'm gonna shoot you in this, but I'm not gonna do something so shocking that it's gonna, make you, freak out as an audience, like, oh my gosh. So there's a difference here, and I think that we're just gonna have to see how the story goes. It determines what you like in a villain. So again, that's my original thoughts. I'm very excited to see Gareth as a villain. I think that it's going to be very different. I think it's going to be very entertaining, and I think that it's going to make for a great fifth season. Very excited for it. Thanks everybody. If you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them. Feel free to subscribe. I have more videos coming. If you guys have any questions or video topics that you want me to answer, I can definitely do suggestions. If you want to leave them in the comments, if you want to message me, whatever you'd like. I'm very open to doing video topics that you guys want. You guys, yeah, I really appreciate you watching my videos. I really do. And I want to know what you want to watch. I want to do this for you. So thanks again, everybody, and I really hope that you have a wonderful day. Thank you.